Thanks, Sophie. Hello, welcome to Wales Today. I'm Nick Savini in the constituency of Caerphilly, where everyone here is digesting the result of a dramatic night in which Labour lost its first election here in more than 100 years. Celebrations for Plaid Cymru today after a stunning and, in the end, comfortable victory in the Senedd by-election for their veteran local campaigner Lindsay Whittle. But can the party build on it?
This was a momentous result for Plaid Cymru. Of course, there's a context of people feeling deeply disillusioned with Labour, both Keir Starmer and Labour in Welsh government. But this is about us now as a party, making sure that we do the hard yards.
In the end, they didn't really threaten to win, but Reform UK still came out as by far the second largest party. And a devastating night for Labour, with ramifications that go right to the top of the party.
I've just spoken to Keir Starmer. He understands that he also has a responsibility to help us out in Wales. We'll be asking for more. I will be following the Red Welsh way.
Good evening, I'm Lucy Owen, also in Wales Today.
We're announcing a clear plan for the future of elite Welsh rugby, which will see us move to a 3-club professional structure for men's rugby in Wales.
Rugby bosses announced plans to scrap one region by 2027, with the aim of improving funding and performance. But it's not going down well with some fans.
I've been an Ospreys fan since the conception of the region, and now I'm being expected to turn around and become a fan of a new entity all over again.
Good evening. You join me in the centre of Caerphilly, in the shadow of the town's famous castle and in the shadow of the town's famous Tommy Cooper statue, because last night, 100 years of Labour political dominance in this part of the world came to an end, just like that. And what's more, Plaid Cymru didn't have to pull the rabbit out of the hat at the last minute. This result had been brewing for ages. Nevertheless, when it came, it was quite shocking. And today felt like one of those days in which the tectonic plates of Welsh politics are starting to change. And all you've got to do is look at the results from last night, because the figures are stark. On a high record turnout of 50%, Plaid got a vote of 47%. Reform UK, the new kids on the block, attracted 36% of the vote. And the once mighty election-winning machine of the South Wales Valleys, Welsh Labour, pulled in 11%. Yes, you did hear that correctly, just 11%. Tonight, we will look at all the ramifications of that result, both locally and at a wider level, as we look ahead to the Senedd election. But first, the story of a remarkable night from Amelia Belly.
After an intense battle, a celebration in front of the castle as Plaid Cymru captured the stronghold of Caerphilly.
Yesterday, the people of Caerphilly created their own history. And we put Caerphilly on the map.
Labour had held this constituency in the Senedd since devolution and has for over a century in Parliament too.
People came to Plaid Cymru for positive reasons. We can see that from the results. Nearly 50% of the vote. This was a momentous result for Plaid Cymru. Of course, there's a context of people feeling deeply disillusioned with Labour, both Keir Starmer and Labour in Welsh government. But this is about us now as a party, making sure that we do the hard yards to bring those voters with us to the next election.
Lindsay Whittle has been waiting for this moment since 1983. On his 14th time standing for the seat, an historic win for Plaid Cymru. On a record Senedd by-election turnout, he won by more than 3,800 votes. Labour disappointed but not surprised to be pushed into a distant third place.
Decade in, decade out. This has been a long time coming. It's been hard work, but believe you me, it's been worth it.
Right up until the polls closed, it was believed to be neck and neck between Plaid Cymru and Reform UK. While Reform got 36% of the vote, the end result wasn't close. but they say the knockback is temporary.
We're going to release a lot more manifestos, you're going to see a lot more candidates, but what we're going to see is a lot more Reform MSs elected in May, and that's because what we're building here is a movement and the people are a part of it, and I'm looking forward to May.
The run-up to May's elections will also be looming large for Welsh Labour after they won just 11% of the vote. This campaign was bruising, the party under siege at all levels, defending local library closures by the Labour Caerphilly Council, the Welsh Government's record on education and the NHS, and UK Labour's unpopularity. They've now got 6 months to turn things around.
This was a bad result for Labour, and I'd like to start by congratulating Lindsay Whittle on his election to the Senedd. It was a difficult election for us. It was done against the backdrop of Hefin David's death. There are some serious lessons for us to learn here at all levels of government, and we will heed those lessons.
In relation to the by-election, look, I'm deeply disappointed by the results. I'm not going to suggest otherwise. I spoke to the First Minister this morning, and clearly we need to reflect and regroup and double down on the delivery in Wales. And we clearly need to do much more.
And the result has an immediate impact in the Senedd. This is what it looks like now, party by party. Labour are now 2 seats short of a majority. What does that mean? Well, to get more done, including a budget, they'll have to make deals with other parties. With an election around the corner, opposition politicians are likely to drive a hard bargain.
Thank you very much.
One of them, the Sened's newest member, has already been sworn in to serve a constituency where more than 50% of people turned out to vote.
I only voted Labour because I was brought up, my parents voted Labour. Never really interested in it, but I did vote for Labour for years. But the more I am getting into it, I thought Reform would do a better job.
I've grown up Labour, but I knew that to make sure that I didn't have a party that I didn't agree with at all in Senedd, it meant I had to tactically vote for Plaid.
I'll keep an eye on what Plaid do over the next 7 months or so and decide then, but for now probably might stay with Plaid.
The last 24 hours have proved that once rock-solid political majorities can crumble suddenly. And as today draws to a close, there's a question mark over whether a wider, deeper shift in Welsh politics is on the horizon.
Amelia Belly reporting there. Well, I'm delighted to say we can join the victorious leader of Plaid Cymru now, who's back in his home constituency on Anglesey. Good evening, congratulations. There's no question it was a stunning victory for you and the party last night. No question about the result. I suppose one thing I'm not entirely sure of is how much was this a vote for Plaid Cymru, or how much in this part of the world was it a vote to keep Reform out?
Well, it was clearly a very strong positive vote for Plaid Cymru, a truly momentous result that we will look back on as, I think, a turning point in Welsh political history. People had been maybe predicting a close race between Plaid Cymru and Reform. It ended up with Plaid Cymru getting as many votes as Reform and Labour combined. Now, of course, there was a context, as I said earlier today, in people being so disillusioned with Labour. But whilst Labour conveniently say that what we saw in the Plaid votes was people lending their votes to us to keep Reform out, people were telling us very, very clearly that they'd had enough of Labour and were very comfortable in coming to us. Our job now, having kept Reform out, which was really, really important, is to keep the trust of those people that voted for us yesterday and build that trust with them and, of course, with people Wales-wide between now and next May.
And that's the thing. How do you do that? Traditional Labour supporting area like this, make sure they stick with you in 6 months' time.
And that's the key, isn't it? People have often said to me, why hasn't Plaid Cymru broken out of its traditional heartlands? I remind them, of course, that Plaid Cymru represents every square inch of Wales right now in the Senedd. But we have proved beyond any doubt now in this poll in Caerphilly that Plaid Cymru can do it. And not only can do it, we have done it. That will build as momentum between now and next May. People, I think, will feel empowered in seeing that in Plaid Cymru now there is a party that is ready to govern, that has those ideas to get to grips with the problems in people's lives, on health, on education, on better jobs. And it's all now a focus on making sure that we cross that line in May with something that's never happened before, with Plaid Cymru leading government and taking Wales in a new direction. People have clearly shown that they need a change, and it's a positive change that Plaid Cymru can offer.
OK, we shall have to leave it there. The leader of Plaid Cymru, Rhun Ap-Iorwerth, thank you very much indeed. So, from the winner to the losers, it is undeniably hard being in Welsh Labour at the moment. Take Caerphilly. The party runs the council, it runs the Welsh Government, and it runs the UK Government. So to put it bluntly, they cop it for everything at the moment. So how is the party going to turn things round in 6 months before those Senedd elections I was just talking about? Well, it's a question that our political correspondent, Elliw Gwawr, put to the First Minister, Eluned Morgan.
I've just spoken to Keir Starmer. He understands that he also has a responsibility to help us out in Wales. We'll be asking for more. I will be following the Red Welsh way, making sure we hold fast to our values in the Labour Party, making sure that we focus in on community, on equality and on security, and making sure we deliver for the Welsh people.
You were destroyed in Caerphilly in this election with 11% of the vote. Is Welsh Labour in crisis?
This is a bad result. We've had difficult elections before. In 2019, we came third, way behind Brexit and Plaid, and we bounced back from about 14% to 40% within a matter of months.
So is this, in your mind, just a blip?
We're taking this extremely seriously. It is important that we listen to the public. My leadership as First Minister started off by listening. We are delivering. Just this week, 130,000 potholes have been filled over the past year. Our waiting lists are coming down.
You say you're delivering, but the message we heard over and over from people in Caerphilly was that, things aren't changing for them, and so they wanted change. You've been in government here for 26 years now. What exactly can change in the next 6 months before the election?
Look, I'm a different leader. I'm a different generation. It's important we look to the future. I'm focused on the things that matter to people. They're struggling with their daily lives today. They're struggling with the cost of living. It's really important that we generate jobs that can help them to support them with those cost of living issues. It's important that we do focus on the NHS and bring those waiting lists down. And it is important that we recognise that actually we want to stand up against the forces of division that are wreaking havoc in some of our communities.
Have you considered resigning because of this?
I won't resign. I've got too much work to do. The people of Wales expect me to get on with the job, and that's precisely what I intend to do.
The First Minister answering the questions from Elliw Gwawr there. Right, I'm joined by our political editor, Gareth Lewis. Now we've managed to lose
I'm glad it stopped raining.
Yeah, we've lost the umbrellas for a second. Gareth, we'll pick up on Labour later in the programme. But first, let's talk about Plaid Cymru. What a result.
Yeah, absolutely, Nick. Look, it gives them a huge boost in this quest they've got to convince voters that they're a government in waiting, that they are the alternative to Labour. The message worked for them, didn't it? Improvements to the NHS, a better funding deal from Westminster for Wales, and that warning to vote Labour, get reform. They really galvanised an anti-reform vote around themselves. You asked the question to Rhun Ap-Iorwerth, what do you do to make sure that those voters stick with you? But it's a big night, an historic night for Plaid Cymru. They need to keep it up, Nick, now, don't they? They need to keep that momentum going. I don't think they'll change very much after a successful night last night.
And look, what do we make and what do you make of the performance of Reform UK? They said they were going to throw the kitchen sink at it. They did, but it wasn't enough, was it?
Yeah, they did. Nigel Farage visited 3 times, Nick, including yesterday. They wanted to win this seat, make no mistake about it. And, they are talking up the fact that they've come from a very low base. 495 votes in 2021, which seems like ages ago now, to 36% of the vote last night, but they still didn't win. That said, 36% next year under proportional representation, they will do very well indeed off, but I think there are questions for them on how well they managed to get their voters out, how many of them they managed to register. They'll need to do better on that next May, and perhaps too they've underestimated the well of unpopularity that there is towards Nigel Farage and Reform, because clearly there was an anti-reform, a keep reform out vote out here.
OK, interesting stuff. We'll speak later. OK, for now, Lucy, it's back to you in the studio.
Nick, thanks ever so much. We'll come back to you again shortly. To today's other big story now, and after months of uncertainty, a seismic shift is coming to Welsh rugby. The WRU has confirmed it will cut one of its 4 professional teams by 2027, with 1 team in the east, 1 in Cardiff, and just 1 in the west. And that's prompted fierce criticism from Ospreys and Scarlet supporters. Thomas David has more.
It's the outcome feared by many in the game. After months of uncertainty, 4 professional sides will become 3. Today, those responsible for the decision made the case for change. The chair of the Welsh Rugby Union says the current system simply isn't working and is unaffordable. The poor results on the pitch, he says, speak for themselves.
We're announcing a clear plan for the future of elite Welsh rugby, which will see us move to a 3-club professional structure for men's rugby in Wales, equally funded and playing in the URC, with much greater collaboration between the professional clubs and the national team.
The union says they will reduce the number of teams being funded to just 3 as soon as possible, as early perhaps as next season. But with one side planned in the west, what future for the Ospreys and Scarlets?
Clearly today would be the first time they'd heard about the decisions that we've made as a board. So we're looking forward to having more of those discussions over the coming weeks.
Would you hope for a merger? Would that be the ideal scenario?
I mean, we've said that we would like, at the end of the day, to do this by consent for everyone concerned. And that will either mean, I suppose, that either some people may choose to withdraw because they've put a huge amount into Welsh rugby over the years and they might find they don't want to put any more in. Or some people could decide to merge together. Absolutely.
The Welsh Rugby Union hopes the 4 current regions can come to a consensus about which sides survive. Should that fail, the union will start a tender process for 3 licences for 3 new regional rugby sides. There has been overwhelming public opposition to cutting sides, and today's announcement was met with some disappointment in Llanelli, home of the Scarlets.
When they take things from an area, whether it's sports or shops, well, it goes down, doesn't it?
It should have been like the old county system. And then you still had Llanelli and all the other ones, but they would have had to feed into like Carmarthenshire or something similar to that.
At least we're all right for 2 years, and that's the main thing, and there's a bit of stability in that.
The Ospreys have announced plans to move from the Swansea.com stadium and redevelop St Helens in the city in time for next season. But will there be a side in existence by then?
I was a Swansea fan before this. I've been an Ospreys fan since the conception of the region, and now I'm being expected to turn around and become a fan of a new entity all over again. That's 3 different teams and regions that I'll have been asked to be supporting within the last 40 years. It's madness. I can't see many people buying into that.
The union, meanwhile, says there's a need to ensure teams are financially sustainable. The 3 new sides will receive the same funding, initially £6.4 million each every year. That figure will eventually rise to £7.8 million. Welsh rugby has endured a damaging and scarring process to get to this point. While the immediate future is clearer somewhat tonight, long-term uncertainty remains, and the fates of the Ospreys and the Scarlets hang in the balance.
Well, Thomas is with me now. Has there been any reaction from the regions tonight?
Yeah, all 4 regions have given us a statement. I've picked out statements from the Scarlets and the Ospreys. It's worth noting they haven't mentioned a merger at all in either of these statements. Scarlets first. With Scarlets in the future structure, Welsh rugby keeps a proven talent pathway, an internationally respected brand and a first-class home for rugby. On to the Ospreys, they say we are Wales's most successful region, having won more league titles, produced players who've won more Welsh caps, and so it goes on. So each region saying they will engage with the process, but quite clearly each region, laying out why it should survive. Other things we learned today: more funding in the game, £40 million over 5 years to improve coaching, education, training centres, more investment in the women's game, among other things. But the headline, of course, is cutting 4 down to 3 regions. There's only 12 miles between Swansea and Llanelli, but each city has a proud rugby tradition, and it seems tonight that the battle for survival has already begun. Much more rugby chat for you on Scrum 5, a special programme at 7 o'clock tonight here on BBC One. Well, stick around for that.
Great. Thomas, thank you ever so much. An inquest has heard that the paedophile Ian Watkins died after being stabbed in the neck. The disgraced former Lost Prophets singer from Pontypridd died earlier this month at Wakefield Prison, where he was serving a 29-year jail sentence for child sex offences. 2 men have been charged with murder. And healthcare support workers at Swansea Bay University Health Board will receive compensation to correct years of underpayment. Union members said they had been required to carry out duties above their pay grades for a number of years. Last month, the Health Board said a deal had been paused, but today the Unison Union has confirmed staff will move up a pay band and be paid compensation. Well, let's head back to Caerphilly now for more on the Senedd by-election and that historic win for Plaid Cymru. Hi, Nick.
Hi, Lucy. Yes, after the result, we've talked a lot about history tonight, haven't we? We've talked about the political mood music, but what about the most important people in all of this, the voters? Well, Ben Price has been out in the constituency today, finding out.
There were plenty of coffees and cakes on offer at this cafe in Ystrad Mynach this morning. A variety of takes on the by-election too, as voters digested the result.
I'm really pleased with it. Yeah, I feel like Plaid will be good for the constituency.
Are you surprised by how many people turned out for a by-election?
In one way, yes. In another way, no, because I feel like a lot of people, especially younger people like myself, are wanting to have a voice, wanting to make their opinion more heard.
I always believed Labour was for the working man, but not anymore, not since Starmer got in. Sorry I voted for him, but I just think reform are the way to go.
I think if Plaid Cymru can continue to galvanise the vote and people come out for Plaid Cymru as they have in Caerphilly, because let's not forget this is an enormous turnout across the county, not just for Plaid Cymru, not just for reform, but the number of people that manage to go to the ballot box is an enormous vote of confidence for change and a vote against Welsh Labour.
Where Labour placards and posters once dominated in the run-up to elections here, on this occasion, a changed landscape. Neighbours proudly displaying their political differences too. On the high street in Bargoed, a mixture of pleased Plaid backers and disappointed reform supporters.
Absolutely devastated.
Did you expect that?
Back in my mind, yes. I thought people were very disillusioned with Labour. I was hoping for reform.
And in terms of a change, what does Bargoed, Caerphilly, Wales need then?
Everything. Everything. We're behind on everything. NHS, schooling, jobs.
Do you think reform will deliver a positive change on those things?
They are a bit of a one-trick pony at the moment. Yeah, and I will hold my hands up to that.
Could I ask which way you voted?
Yes, I voted Plaid Cymru.
Yeah.
Yes, I did, yeah.
Have you always been a Plaid Cymru voter, or was it changed for this by-election?
Changed, yeah.
One of the clearest messages in this by-election, 6 months out before Wales goes to the polls again, support for Labour in its traditional heartland has been smashed. But there's still time to sway opinions in their favour or to pick up new voters, maybe.
Does it bother you who's representing the local area?
Not too much. No, it's what it is. We're not too political of a family. We don't get involved in it too much.
It's Plaid Cymru for Caerphilly on this occasion. Can they now build on this vote of confidence ahead of the Senedd election next May?
Ben Price with the all-important local voices there. Right, let's get a final word with another all-important voice, our political editor, Gareth Lewis. Gareth, what do we make of this extraordinary demise in the Labour vote
Nick,
here in the South Wales Valleys?
It was an awful result for Labour, an awful result. And the Inquisition has begun already. I've spoken to a couple of Labour sources who've been critical of what they see as campaigning being run from Westminster. As one of them puts it, we want decisions made in Wales for Wales. And one thing that stands out to me, this idea of two Labour governments working together is better for Wales has been completely rejected here in Caerphilly. Yes, there's been more money, £1.6 billion, most of which has been spent on the NHS. But look at what Welsh Labour asks for. HS2 money, control of the Crown estate, extra borrowing powers to invest, devolution of policing and justice, and they're not getting it. Other comments today, I was listening on the radio on the way here to Lord Hayne, former Welsh Secretary, saying that Number 10 doesn't get the seriousness of the crisis that Labour is facing outside of London. We've had Alan Davis, the MP up, the MS, I beg your pardon, just up the road for Blaenau Gwent, saying that Wales isn't treated fairly, it isn't funded fairly. This wouldn't be done to Scotland or Northern Ireland. Callum Jones, former First Minister, saying what we don't need now is a war of words between Cardiff and Westminster. But rather than unite at the moment, it looks as if Labour at best are having a heated discussion. At worst, with just 6 months to go, they're arguing with themselves.
Time's against them. Gareth, thank you for everything tonight. The weather, we've had torrential rain here this evening. Let's find out what is happening across the country and go to Derek.
Thanks very much, Nick. Yes, chilly and wet in Caerphilly this evening. Colder over the weekend with a mixture of sunshine and showers, with more rain on the way on Sunday afternoon. Now, we've seen lots of rainbows across the country today. Ken spotted this one in Halkin in Flintshire. The temperature reached 13 Celsius in Ogmore by Sea, but colder everywhere tomorrow, only 8 Celsius in Bryn Mawr. Now, this evening, rain and heavy showers in the south will clear. Dry for a time, but more showers on the way overnight, especially in the west. Some heavy ones there with strong winds on the coast. The lowest temperature around 4 or 5 Celsius inland. And then tomorrow we have low pressure near Norway. That means colder northwesterly winds for the UK. Now, tomorrow will be a drier and brighter day, some sunny intervals, but scattered showers as well. And some of these will be quite sharp with hail and a little snow on the mountain tops. Strong and gusty winds on exposed northern and western coast tomorrow, and temperatures lower than today will feel colder, only 8 to 12 Celsius. On into Sunday, a brief ridge of high pressure, but it won't last. A frontal system will move in from the Atlantic during the day. So we start Sunday with sunny intervals and a few showers, dry for a time, but then rain will arrive during the afternoon, heaviest on the Cambrian Mountains and in Eryri. It will be a breezy, if not windy day on Sunday, with temperatures a little higher than those of Saturday, 9 to 12 Celsius. On into next week, it's a changeable story and turning milder, 15 degrees on Halloween. Before I go, a reminder that the clocks go back 1 hour on Sunday. Back to Nick.
Derek, thank you very much indeed for that. So, on a day of political change here in the constituency of Caerphilly, generational change actually, the kinds of political differences we haven't seen for many years. That is Wales Today. Thank you for watching tonight. Have a good evening.